right, now I'm pleased to be joined by Shane Knighty, who knows everything you need to know about the Vegas Golden Knights. So, Ray and I, Shane, talked about all the shenanigans late game between the Oilers and the Golden Knights last night earlier in the headlines. My sense is, and unfortunately, probably by the time the podcast comes out, the Department of Player Safety will have ruled. My sense as the day begins is that, Petro is likely going to get a game. They'll uphold the instigator on Darnell Nurse. He'll get a game. So both the Oilers and the Golden Knights feel a little bit of pain with two key defensemen out of the equation. But pretty evident from where you were watching that Pietrangelo had enough of the liberties that the Oilers were trying to take. Is that fair?
I think so. And to be fair, I thought the Oilers were the more physical team. They were the faster team last night. Um, I think he was upset with the Kane play. He turned, took a bit of a cross check from behind into the boards. Those plays have happened, and I know both fan bases. It's interesting, right? Neither are happy with the refs after a game like that. And
No.
I look at it. You got to play through it at this time of the year. The one there's maybe one play earlier on. Stone had the chance, clear cross check by Yamamoto in the back. Should have been a call. Didn't. Oilers come down. It goes from a 2-0 game going to the power play to 3-0. But hey, that happens. The Golden Knights weren't good enough overall last night. Pietrangelo upset. You've got to find a way to manage those emotions in these moments. This isn't the regular season. The regular season, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's going to be a tough loss for them. And Nurse, clearly an instigator, came from way outside. That's an old school charge. I used to be able to do those from the blue line as a D-man. I was usually into a pile. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the call here on both those guys going forward. So, a pivotal game 5 and a couple important guys out of the lineup.
Is it as odd to you, someone who follows Vegas as you do, as you work for them or work in their broadcast team, the way this series has gone? I can't believe that, it's not even close, but it's not close either way. Yeah. How does that happen? How can neither team stay tight to the game when they get behind?
And it's kind of been round 2, right? It's not only this series. And I've sat there and I thought about it. I've had conversations with guys like I'm sure you have. I'm like, game 1, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I thought. Vegas might be able to roll their depth and get through it. And then all of a sudden, game 2, I'm like, wow, I don't know if they can stop these guys, especially if they take penalties. There's, the Oilers, how's anybody going to stop them? You give them power play, you might as well just, can we decline? We'll take the goal. Let's just line up and save time. And the same thing, game 3. And then game 3, it's like everybody's back on, all right, well, Vegas completely dominated. That's what they need to do. They're disciplined. Then they come out. And, I think and I don't want to be harsh here, but I think, during the regular season, players, they're unafraid to open it up. And I think players nowadays, because of their creativity, they're stubborn to play a certain way. In playoff hockey, you have to buy in. Okay, I'm not going to try that cross ice pass, even if I'm down 2 or 3 goals. Let's still stick to our game plan that gets us success, that gets us, offense. Maybe it's a chip and chase and in on the forecheck. That's something Florida has stuck to. They've stuck to their game, and I think a lot of these other teams just still continue to force offense. And obviously, you're trying to cheat the game when you're down. You're going to take more chances. I get it. But the pushback hasn't been their end game. It's been their game to game. And, Bruce Cassidy and other coaches, we've talked to said, playoffs is all about response. How do you respond game to game? But more importantly, how to respond in game to that adversity that sets in? How can you push back in game? Because that's the key in playoffs. And we haven't seen it in game. It's like a team grabs hold, it's over. Mm-hmm. And, the response has been there game to game. But I just think, players, they've got to buy into play a certain way and not waver from that brings them success. And I think even when they've been down here in playoffs, they have just been unable to grab hold of those momentum shifts.
I sometimes wonder, as I'm watching, I was doing New Jersey and Carolina, and it was 6-1, 6-1. And then the Devils won 8-4, and then it was 6-1 again. I mean, each game has been lousy because, you want to see 4-3 or whatever. You want to see it close. I keep wondering, the players must believe that with the way the game is played now, they can always come back.
Yes.
Even when like they're like, we can do this. And then I think a little panic comes in, and pretty soon it's like it's chaos. And that's when I'm looking like that game 3, that game was it 1-0 after the first
Yeah.
in Vegas or in Edmonton. Vegas was up 1-0. And then all of a sudden Vegas was getting like 2-on-1s and 3-on-1s. And I'm like, but Edmonton still thinks they're in the game, but they kind of weren't.
Yeah.
And it's a weird, it's weird. It's weird
Seattle,
to watch.
Dallas.
It's different than any playoff I think I've watched. I mean, same for you? Same for you?
Absolutely. And I just said Seattle, Dallas. Like, you look at some of those games back, and it's just there hasn't been, outside the Florida Toronto, which games have been close. The rest of the series, it's heavily in favor of one team, and I think you're right. You look at this year, and I think because of the skill level in this league now, and the more freedom for players to be creative, and we saw more comebacks than ever. You know what we used to say, 2-goal lead, the worst lead in hockey. Now it's 3 and 4 goals. Okay, no problem. And you saw it happen during the regular season, but we're not here in playoffs. It's just especially here in the second round. It's been very surprising to me. I would, the attraction of playoff hockey is those close games, overtime, where you play sudden death hockey, and it just hasn't been a whole lot of it.
Shane Hnidy joining us from Vegas on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. Look, the Oilers found a way, Shane, to get to Adin Hill. And I'm not putting that loss or the start on goaltending for the Vegas Golden Knights. Is it a concern? Is goaltending a concern, or less so because the Golden Knights historically have leaned on that carousel of goaltending?
I think it's always a concern when there's the Oilers. You could say Stuart Skinner in games. It's been a concern because you got goaltenders that have never been through that. Look at Toronto. It's kind of been the storyline this playoffs, or at least going in the second round. Where's the big name goaltenders? And I think the league has changed in the fact that the majority of the teams now, you got to lean on 2 goalies, or if you're the Golden Knights, 5.
Right.
It's just they had 5 guys win games this year. So in that sense, it's not new territory for them, and I think they're comfortable in Adin Hill. And I think they needed to stop early, no question. But at the same time, I think there's points that he kept the game from getting really out of hand. With some saves, because the Oilers didn't let off it. As you said, the pushback really wasn't there. Waugh scored a nice goal, but outside of that, and Skinner made some saves at the other end. But Vegas didn't get to the inside, and that's kind of been the story. If you hear the narrative from the coach all year round, is we didn't get to the inside, we weren't good enough tonight, and then when they win games, we stuck to our games. We relied on depth. We put pucks behind the D, and we got to the inside. We won the battle in the blue paint. And that was certainly the story in Game 3, and Game 4 was the opposite. So, and the goaltending fact, Adin Hill, I think, helps now. He's had his first start. He's a competitive guy. He's been there through them this year. But, you could say the same. Laurent Brossoit, was there concern? Well, you might wonder, but he came out and performed. So I think that's the situation, and they've learned to say, okay, it is what it is. This is what we got going forward. We got confidence in it. And, you build a lot of that confidence from the past, which they had throughout the regular season.
I don't think I've seen a team with goaltending like this, like with what Vegas has gone through since last year when Jersey used 7. They used 7 goalies. The difference was Jersey had like 64 points.
Yeah.
Like Vegas has really done an amazing job. I think this year is like, no Stone for almost all of the year. They had guys in and out of the lineup. They had to, they traded Pacioretty at the start of the year for the cap stuff. The goalie carousel started when Leonard was out with surgery and all that stuff. But it's pretty impressive, Shane, like pretty impressive to watch. And the guy, I guess the guy that most people look at first now is Jack Eichel. He's in his first playoff, which is crazy that he's, you've been in the league this long and you never get to play in the playoffs yet. How has he looked from your eyes as the season's gone on? Because he's now had a full year of being healthy and now into his playoff.
I think he's a player that's still learning to play the right way. The thing I love about Jack is he's ultra competitive and he's got the talent. And I'm going to quickly just touch on what you said. I think a big reason they're able to sustain, they missed Stone. They were without Whitecloud and Theodore for a long 20-plus games. They missed Eichel for 13 games. Pietrangelo missed because of his kid for 9 or 10 games. All was Stone. And you're using these goalies and they survive it. And I think it's the system. And it's interesting. I had this conversation is, Bruce Cassidy, I think their defensive zone, you see a lot of man-on-man zone coverage now, or man-on-man coverage in zone. They use more of a zone hybrid to close quickly. And to me, it's a product of the Boston Bruins, where Bruce was for so many years, which came from Claude, which went to Bruce, which is kind of there's still elements of that from this past year. And when you look at it, so Claude, you had Timmy Thomas, Vezina, Tuukka Rask, Vezina. Looks like Allmark will be the next Vezina.
Yeah.
3 different guys in a similar type system. Certainly it's evolved through the years, but what I'm saying is it's given goalies a chance. It's a system in which favors a goaltender. Hey, you make the saves from the outside. We're going to give a certain shot that is coming. We're going to try and protect the middle of the house, take care of those high danger chances. So, that's a thought. Whether it's true or not, I've thought of that. And then on terms of...
Well, Shane, sorry to jump in. You're not wrong, because when we talked to Jim Montgomery in Boston early in the year, he said, my view of the game is maybe more offensive than Bruce's.
Yeah.
But Bruce's system here, he goes, why would I change that?
Yeah.
So you're right. One coach steals from the previous coach that steals from Claude Julien, who was, the coach when you were there.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable how that tree of ideas, or branch of ideas off the tree goes, and how it's in Vegas too.
Yeah, and it's the core guy, the Bergeron, the Marchand, the Krejci, that were been there since the beginning, and it's kind of, you filter in, and it's how you build that structure within an organization that's been there for so long. Yeah, so that I think has been carried over here. They haven't mastered it to Boston's level, but it certainly favored the goalies. And then on Jack has bought into that defensive side of it. That's the area of the game that I think I've been most impressed with him. Is he's a good defensive centerman when he wants, because he utilizes that skill, that size, his ability to close quick, his ability to support as a centerman. So he's been really good. That outside of last game, but when you look at it, the strength of his game has been a lot defensively, and now it's a matter of kind of adding that layer. Okay, he's bought into that. Now let's find a way to open up that skill set he has offensively, and I think that's going to come as he gets more and more comfortable. But certainly he has the ability.
I'm gonna shift from the playoffs for just a second. Every time I see you in Vegas, I always mean to ask, never do, always forget, because I'm like a squirrel. I got 9 ideas going at once. Where do you shop? Because you got some stuff that you wear on the air. Like, I like it, and I'm like, that's not old Winnipeg Shane. This is like it's coming
come
out.
on.
New sheriff.
You know what? I dressed well there, but
Old Winnipeg Shane.
the old Winnipeg. I forgot.
No, because it was more conservative. You're in the winter. Vegas, you got sun all the time. You got
He's
gold
got some
shoes.
style.
and-
There's there's
no
identities.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
I've
curious.
used a
Where do
bunch
you
of
do that?
different places, but the one that probably is the best is, and I'm sure you guys have ever been to the Cosmo. There's a place called Stitched Men's Clothing as you come up the escalators if you're going.
Yeah.
So I've been working with them a bit throughout the years, kind of more just this year as well, and they got some great stuff. And that's the thing. I think you got to have fun with it. It's funny because, and I know Ray, you're same way, and same way with rules, right? I'm an old school guy, but the game's evolved. Just as I realized, and people, whether you love it or hate it, what Vegas does, their in-game entertainment, to me, it's got to fit your market. So it does. And I think the same thing with style, and you get to have a little fun with it. I've always loved clothes. It's kind of been my thing. I think probably, when I started playing in Ottawa, when I got my first custom suit, Curtis Lecision used to be, he was the dress, more of like, the GQ man. He was my deep partner. He's like, you got to start wearing better suits. And, back then the 4-button shoulder pads in the early 2000s, I think I still have one, but it's like, you can't roll that
Oh,
out.
you got to pull that out.
So the main
Shane,
thing
you
to
got to
me,
work.
is the custom suits you got to wear, and I have fun with it, and the fans love it, right? I've got more
Yeah.
pairs of gold shoes than I'll ever know what to do with. It's
Yeah, I want to see you walk through the streets of Neepawa, Manitoba with the gold shoes.
Well,
Now, chances are you have.
no, the three-quarter length sleeve Metallica shirt comes out when I'm back home. It's that's my Neepawa. I don't even think I can listen to my country music. Well, my dad likes it, but my buddies they're still around there. Hey, you're branded, boy. I wish I had the picture. I had it up the other day. You and Darren Millard with the mullets, full on mullets on. I forget the station.
Yeah,
you guys were
CKLQ, the ad.
CKLQ. There
Yeah,
we go.
that's right.
It was beautiful. I've got to pull that up. I might have to send it to Ray.
Yeah.
So you said, Curtis Lecision told you needed new suits. So I get called up, played like half my first year. The next year I'm making $70,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get no money, and I want to buy a car. So I buy a Volkswagen diesel Dasher. I can't even describe what this thing looked like. The guys rode me so hard about it being the worst car in the NHL. They're like, it's the worst car, not here, like in the league. They were on me for months. And finally I broke down, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go buy another car. I gotta buy something. But I didn't have any money. So I'm like, okay, I'm not buying another car. So I stuck it out, and I don't know how you battled the go buy the new suit thing. I stuck with it all year. It was a flat out embarrassment. This car would start, that black plume of diesel would come out the back. It's an embarrassment.
That's like a junior car.
Embarrassment.
We all had those playing junior.
That's what they said. You're in the NHL. Join the league. And I was like, embarrassing. The other thing I was going to ask you, Shane, was you were a tough guy when you played, and hard guy to play against, and residual injuries from where I'm going with this, from your career. So you're coaching in Las Vegas, and not many guys get hurt coaching that require a shoulder reconstruction. Maybe you could run us through your
well, yeah. So
you tell me it's a playing injury. I think it's just that you got really shitty and you just fell down.
No, what it was is, so one of the attractions, everybody said, because I was with you guys working for TSN Winnipeg home, and probably to the surprise of friends and family, I moved to Vegas, right? The attraction here to come. Part of it was not only to call games. The other one was, hockey's been my life. And to me, there was an intrigue to go somewhere and grow our game. So that's been a big part of it, right? To see hockey, it's fastest growing hockey market in North America. What they've done, it is just boom beyond my wildest expectations. So my son was going to a school, and we wanted to start high school hockey as another element. And so we started a high school hockey team that I've been involved with, and my son plays on it. And when I have time, I'll go out for practices. So you're referring to last January when I was in a sling.
He comes to the game. He's in a sling. What happened to you?
So I was coaching. So anyways, I'm coaching the high school boys, and my patience is low. I'm not a patient man. Ray, I think you can relate.
Yes.
And I can be grumpy at times. Another thing, especially the practices. This would be late. They practiced at 5:30 in the mornings, a.m. So we were on the ice, and I was worried with the power play, and I'm trying to get these kids to move the puck quick, and it's just painful. And so I start losing my mind. So I'm going to get aggressive. All right, I'm going to kill. You guys got to move, and starting to move. I'm skating around. It's a one-man penalty kill against these kids, and finally I take the puck away, and I'm like, you guys got to move it quicker. And so next time I cut a pass off, the kid comes after me, and he gets it back, and I just went to turn. And as I did, I went down kind of on my shoulder, and went down and went straight to the bench. And of course, these kids, just to piss me off more, they're all laughing. And I know something's wrong, right then and there. And anyways, went to the doctor, and that morning I thought I dislocated it. MRI, and I'm like, I didn't fall that hard. He's like, no. He said that shoulder's been beat up. I tore 3 of the 4 tendons in my rotator cuff, but he said you didn't tear them all from the fall. He said they were probably just hanging on there from. He says the previous scarring tissue and bone spurs in your shoulder. So, anyways, it's all good now. I'm ready to go.
But you didn't let the kids know though, did you? You finished practice?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I had to leave. I was white. Like it pop, like I heard the pop, and we know our body. I'm like, this wasn't just. I went there, went straight to the rooms. Then, of course, the language probably wasn't appropriate in front of kids as I was skating off. But anyways, all healed, all good to go. Then now I've had both shoulders done, so both rotators are all fixed.
Oh boy.
Has last one for me, Shane. Has Vegas been everything you hoped it would be when you moved there?
Absolutely. From the people, I think, and we've heard this, and people have heard it a lot now. I did too. I've been to Vegas. It's more than the Strip, right? There's people here. There's doctors. There's lawyers. There's schools. There's everything away from it. It's great. It's been fantastic for my golf game. And
what's your cap?
I was down to a 6, so I've still got
Nice.
some room to go.
I can get 2 aside. This is great.
I've got to get lower because, but some days it looks like a 2 and some days it looks like a 22. It just depends. So the consistency is the big thing. But yeah, it's been great. The family's
awesome.
loved it. This has become home for us. I just think, as I said earlier, seeing the game, there's 2 professional hockey teams here. Well, the Golden Knights were the only professional team. And then, all of a sudden the Raiders, they brought in the Henderson Silver Knights. They got the WNBA. It looks like the Oakland A's are on their way. They're building a massive casino arena, I believe Oakview Group, that's going to be put up here. So the NBA won't be far. F1's building up all their headquarters. Had the All-Star game. We're having the Super Bowl next year, the F1. So all that in 6 years. It's pretty incredible. So it's been a great place that you're away from it where I am out in Summerlin, where is the headquarters of the Golden Knights. But if need be, 20 minutes away is pretty much any entertainment thing you're looking for. And it's a good mix.
No kidding. Well, it's always fun to catch up with you, Shane. Thanks for doing this, and enjoy the rest of the playoffs.
Always a pleasure, guys. Great to see you both. Ray, I'll be watching you again. Here's the playoffs move along. Great job.
Thank you, and you at TNT, it was fun to watch. You get to working with Eddie and the guys, and how about one of your co-workers, Jonesy? Jonesy, we talked about him earlier, but Keith Jones,
funny
is the
man,
president in Philly.
Funny man,
underrated, funny.
One
People have no idea.
Great man.
All
for
right.
that.
Thanks, Shane.
All right, guys.